Our forests represent a beautiful, intricate, and interdependent web of life that contains valuable timber resources. 85% of the land base of New Brunswick is covered in forests. 50% of the forests are Crown Forest, which is land that was never ceded by First Nations and is held in trust for the common good by the provincial government. 30% of the forests are owned by woodlot owners and 20% by the large forestry corporations. When it comes to forestry, our provincial governments have had a long history of making short-sighted decisions that benefit the private interests of the large forestry companies, not the common good. In fact, policy is such that New Brunswickers are effectively paying the mills to cut wood on Crown land at an unsustainable rate, which is undermining the market for private woodlot owners and eliminating habitat for wildlife. Let's see how we got here. Until 1982, a variety of small, medium, and large companies were permitted to cut timber from Crown forests. Then, in 1982, near the end of a global recession, the Legislative Assembly of New Brunswick passed a law that restricted logging to those corporations owning large mills in the province. Almost all of these were pulp and paper mills, so the provincial government determined that the Crown lands should be primarily developed to growing pulpwood, and so paid the companies for the silvicultural practices, such as herbicide spraying, that would achieve this. This gave the big mills considerable market control with access to half the provincial timber resources. To prevent mills from using their exclusive access to Crown wood to drive down the price they would pay private woodlot owners for their timber, the law of primary source of supply was created. Under this law, mills were required to purchase their primary supply of pulpwood and timber from private woodlots. Crown lands were to be used only to meet wood supply needs that couldn't be filled by the private woodlot owners. The large forestry corporations were not thrilled with this arrangement because it was a barrier to cashing in on the promise of cheap wood from Crown land, but they bided their time. In 1992, as New Brunswick emerged from a recession, the provincial government succumbed to industry lobbying with what it called the Pulp and Paper Industry Rescue Package. Even though the recession was over, then Premier Frank McKenna ended the requirement that private woodlots serve as the primary source of wood supply to the mills. In its place, the mills were only required to buy an amount of wood from woodlot owners that represented the proportion they could supply relative to what was available from Crown lands and the corporate-owned forests. 30% of their wood was to come from private woodlot owners, 20% would come from their own industrial land, and the remaining 50% would be cut from Crown forests. This new proportionality law increased the mills' use of cheaper wood from Crown land, putting downward pressure on the price that mills paid for private wood. 10 years later, in 2002, according to an investigation by the Auditor General, government stopped enforcing the proportionality law altogether. The only remaining means for woodlot owners to be paid a fair price for their wood was the requirement that the mills negotiate contracts with their marketing boards. The problem was that large companies like J.D. Irving circumvented the marketing boards by buying wood directly from individual woodlot owners and contractors, a practice which the province refused to stop. Following an appeal to the New Brunswick Forest Products Commission, filed against the 7 marketing boards by J.D. Irving, the Commission upheld the jurisdiction of the marketing boards to contract with Irving for the sale of wood from private land on behalf of woodlot owners. JDI appealed this government commission's decision in court and lost. The government stayed home, forcing the private woodlot owners' organizations to go to court to defend the commission's decision. In 2014, the New Brunswick government signed a 25-year contract, first with J.D. Irving, then with 2 other companies. It guarantees to supply an agreed-on increased volume of wood from Crown land for 25 years, further saturating the market with Crown wood to the detriment of private woodlot owners. So what does all this mean? Thanks to government policy, New Brunswickers have effectively been paying the major mills to cut Crown land forests at an ecologically unsustainable rate, all the while undercutting the private wood sector in the process. Crown land is being used to support the development of big forestry companies rather than the development of our rural communities. It's no wonder high unemployment rates dominate rural New Brunswick. Today, in 2017, there's an ongoing legal dispute between J.D. Irving and the Southern New Brunswick Forest Products Marketing Board. So here we are, forestry in New Brunswick 2017.
So what can we do about it? Let your MLA know that you want government to enforce its own laws to ensure fairness. Fairness for private woodlot owners and fairness for all New Brunswickers.